In this lesson, we want to understand the hierarchy that resources are a part of in Azure. So what's a resource? A resource is just something you create in the portal or using PowerShell or the CLI, something like a virtual machine, a storage account, or a database. So it's anything that you create in order to store your data or run your code. Resources belong to exactly one resource group. A resource group is simply a logical collection of resources. I say logical because it doesn't have anything to do with where they're located in Azure, as in which region. They can be from any region, but it's a way that you can organize, in fact, a way that you must organize your resources. This plays into security, which we'll discuss later in this lesson. A subscription is the level above resource groups, and a resource group must belong to a subscription. The subscription is where the billing occurs. So all the resources inside a subscription, they roll up into a single invoice once a month for your subscription. There's one other level above that called management groups. So a management group is simply a hierarchy of subscriptions. It allows you to group subscriptions together. You can have them at multiple levels of management groups. So for very large organizations, that can be a nice way to manage that. Let me switch over to the portal and show you. Before I show you the details about this storage account, let me just show you when you create any resource in Azure, typically the first two things you must specify are a subscription and a resource group. So this is where you start establishing the hierarchy for the resource itself. Let me go back to the resource I created, a storage account. And you can see the resource group listed here. You can see the subscription listed as well. So this hierarchy is linked throughout the portal, and you can use that to your advantage as you're navigating and looking around. So if I click on the resource group, I can see all the resources that belong to that resource group and manage them as a group if I want to. On the menu, there's also just a list of all resource groups if you want to view things this way. So as we'll see later in this lesson, permissions can play heavily into how you set up your resource groups. You can simplify security with the hierarchy that we mentioned, because permissions can be set at the resource level, at the resource group level, even at the subscription level and the management group level. And those permissions are inherited down the hierarchy. So a little bit of planning goes a long way. You want to set your permissions at the highest level possible so that maybe someone has permissions at the resource group level and therefore they can manage all the resources in that group. It is possible to move resources. We'll mention that later in this lesson, but it's best to plan ahead because it's just less work later.